Hey there, Earthlings. Thanks for tuning in to the Bardo Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Bardo, where we talk about health, happiness, and anything else that's important to us humans. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast by visiting thebardo.com or just click the little subscribe button wherever you listen to the podcast. And be sure to check out my Instagram at thebardo for all the latest videos and content. Thanks so much and enjoy the episode.
You're just funny. It's funny, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how?
Come here, though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Are you ready?
Hey there, folks. Thanks as always for listening to the show. Much appreciated. If you like this podcast, after you listen to it, of course, or if you enjoyed any of my other episodes, please do me a favor, share it with some friends, subscribe, do what you can to help me grow this podcast because I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm continuously growing subscribers, and I'm getting some really cool guests on, and I'm learning a lot in the process. So I'm hoping to take this thing big, but I can't do it without your help. So share the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, whatever you got going on, even YouTube. We're on there too. So you could check the description below to learn how to subscribe, or you could just press the little subscribe button. But today's episode, I just wanted to talk really quick because as this pandemic continues to kind of get worse before it gets better, here we are on the second quote unquote lockdown, and there's mandatory vaccines that are potentially happening across the country, which whether you're vax or anti-vax, it's your prerogative, I suppose, but I think there needs to be a little bit more education about this. So I want to share a couple things about it, kind of talk about overall being healthy. If it's not the COVID variant or the Delta variant, it's going to be something else. This wasn't the first virus. It's not going to be the last. We're constantly being threatened. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. But being healthy is obviously a big part of my life. So I wanted to share kind of what I know and what I do. And also wanted to talk about a couple other things as well. But speaking of being healthy, obviously eating is probably about 80% of what you should be doing to be healthy. Working out is a big part of it, but the better you eat, the better you're going to feel. Naturally, the better you're going to feel, the more energy you're going to have, and you're not going to be as depressed, right? So there's tons of great benefits to working out, but eating right, should be a big part of your routine, right? Daily routine where you should be eating healthy. But I know it's hard. I know it's tough. So, thankfully there's companies like Superfat. If you guys don't know, talk about them all the time on the show, as well as my Instagram. You could check them out at Superfat, or visit superfat.com and use the code BERARDO10 if you want to get 10% off all their products. They have tons of really great products. They also have a really cool blog where they'll show you how to make some keto friendly and vegan friendly recipes. And they have nut butters. They have little snacks, keto cookie bites, stuff to bake with, pancake mix, brownie mix. So things that will crave your sweet tooth, but they're actually good for you. And if you use the code BERARDO10, like I said, you're going to get 10% off just by listening to the podcast. You can visit superfat.com. So thanks, Superfat, for making it super easy for us to eat healthy. And I encourage you guys to check them out. But without further ado, let's get into today's rant. So let's let's talk about this. Obviously with this new Delta variant coming up, if you haven't heard already, I thought it was super interesting, and I wanted to mention this where my man, Joe Rogan, and, if you're a fan of podcasting or if you're a comedy fan, you've known Joe Rogan for a while. But, he is the Howard Stern of podcasts, right? Like he's, over the past 12-something years have grown to become a big influence. Kind of happened organically, and, he's had political figures and doctors and all that, so... But, it's always so funny that people attack him. I just recently heard a podcast with him and Tom Segura. It was a really good podcast, but it starts off kind of, again, if you don't know, it starts off with CNN kind of busting his chops. He talks about that because when he did get COVID, apparently CNN was saying all the bullshit that he was taking. Well, let's do this. I got a better idea. I'm gonna let you listen to this real quick. So I got a couple clips here. So check this out.
I'm glad you're well, man.
Bro, do I have to sue CNN?
I don't know, do you?
They're making shit up. They keep saying I'm taking horse dewormer. I literally got it from a doctor.
Yeah. So there's some medicines that he took, and he went on his Instagram and kind of talked about it. But I thought it was funny that he literally got COVID the week after I saw him. Not even the week. couple days after I saw him, the wife and I saw him in Tampa. He did this nice Florida tour where he went to Fort Lauderdale on Friday. Saturday he did Tampa, which is what we did. And then Sunday he went to Orlando. And then Monday he went back home apparently, and that's when he was feeling like shit. And then he tested positive for COVID that week. So I thought it's not funny. I'm glad he's okay. But it's interesting. Out of all spots, most likely he got it from Florida. But he might not even got it from Florida. You know, he talks about on the show here, on this episode, he talks a lot about the immune system. And we all know that that's a huge factor, right? I mean, the fact that I have Crohn's, which is an immune deficiency and a chronic disease, that, you know, I'm not necessarily at high risk to be in more danger. I could be. There's not a lot of studies on it. But because it's an immune deficiency, my immune system naturally is just shitty. And it hasn't always been like this. I've been healthy most of my life, but, you know, with this disease, it's obviously set me back a little bit. I do blood work and I go to the doctor every few months to make sure everything's tested, especially because I'm eating plant-based. I want to make sure I'm getting the right nutrients and things like that. Thank goodness I don't have any deficiencies. Like there's no, I'm not vitamin D deficient. I don't have protein deficiency because that doesn't exist. You know, a lot of times with people that eat vegan, everyone always says, well, how do you get your protein? Like, aren't you going to be like protein deficient? That's not a thing, bro. Like you get protein in a lot of different, you get protein from nuts and beans. Like you don't need meat. So the fact that you kind of, again, it's not that I don't want to eat meat. It's because meat just affects me weird because of my Crohn's. So anyway, what's cool about this entire first like 15, 20 minutes of this podcast, I recommend you check it out with Tom Sakura. He talks a lot about nutrients, what you need to do to actually keep your immune system healthy. I'm going to play a little bit more for you, actually, if that's cool. Here we go.
But what they didn't highlight is that I got better.
Yeah, you got better quickly.
They try to make it seem as if like I'm doing some wacky shit that's completely ineffective. And
right.
CNN was saying that I'm a distributor of misinformation.
Yeah. So, and he's not a distributor of misinformation any more than CNN is, or Fox, or any other influencer or celebrity. You know, is Kim Kardashian an influencer? Yeah. She distributes information. We don't know if that's correct or not. So what I love most about Joe Rogan is he's open about this, but I like to think I'm the same way as well, where I know a little bit about a couple things, and that's the only stuff I really talk about. Things that I don't know, I like to have guests on and talk about it because I want to constantly learn more information and things like that. For whatever reason, and this is kind of what's frustrating, I've done a podcast about this before, but as much as I preach about being healthy and eating right and staying healthy, there's so many people out there that you'll listen to the news on so many different things, politics, you know, what's going on, bad neighborhoods, good neighborhoods. You'll listen to the news on that stuff, but the news has a responsibility to get information out that's going to help us. And unfortunately, it doesn't translate very well if you are a news anchor and you're talking about being healthy. A news anchor just can't get on there and say, hey, you should be taking vitamins and you should be doing this. That's going to help combat viruses and stuff. That's just not good ratings. No one wants to watch that. According to them, me personally, I would respect news sources a lot more if they did talk about stuff like that, because that's what I'm interested in. But I could appreciate how the vast majority of humans don't want to listen to that shit. They like to see what? They like to see violence and crazy shit in the news. Like, that's just who we are. We're just weird fucking humans. That's why we liked watching crazy gladiators fight lions and and bears and shit in the Colosseum, right, back in the day in Rome. Like, that's the type of shit that we liked. And we still like it. Like, we like that violence and stuff. So, you know, news sources want to capitalize on that. And that's why they're kind of making fun and, you know, busting Joe Rogan's balls so much, is because that has ratings, just to throw his name in there. It's kind of irritating when they're spreading so much misinformation about just overall being healthy. My wife was a really good example of this, because for a while now has had a vitamin D deficiency. I've been telling her for years to take supplements and do this. So now she's starting to go to the doctor, and then finally she's starting to take this stuff. But what's interesting is after a couple months, it wasn't taken. Like, her levels still weren't going up. I told her, keep taking it, keep taking it, keep taking it, keep taking it. And then eventually her levels went up, because your body has to build up immunity and adapt to it. But for a long time, and I think a lot of people can relate with this, if you don't get results right away, you get frustrated. And that's so fucking crazy, man. Especially if you don't know a lot about the industry, you don't know what to do. You know, it's like when you go run on a treadmill for 30 minutes a day and you do that for a month. You're probably going to see no results depending on, you know, if you're very overweight, you might see more results because you're going to drop a lot of water weight. But more often than not, you're not going to see a lot of results. It's going to take 8 to 10 weeks probably to even see anything, to notice anything. And that's if you're like, you know, taking pictures and actually looking at yourself. But we always kind of like look at ourselves in the mirror and we don't see the results. Like even sometimes people that are in really good shape are super depressed because they don't think they look like they're in good shape, right? So it doesn't matter about what you look like. I mean, obviously, if that's, you know, something that's important to you, cool. But what's important is your health. And when you go to a doctor and you're checking levels and you're doing things, they tell you to do one thing, you should probably just stick to it as long as they're a professional, know what they're doing. But you have to keep doing it. It has to be a lifestyle. Well, for whatever reason, I don't know when it started, but we need to get this habit of like, we're going to get results right away. Once we get these results, that's it. We're good now. We don't have to do it anymore. No, man, working out, taking vitamins, taking supplements, it needs to be a part of life. It's so funny to me, like when we're sick, like have you ever been like really sick? Like maybe you had COVID, maybe didn't, but like the flu. You have the flu and you're curled up in a fucking corner of your bed and you're just like sweating and you just... And you're like, I would do anything to feel better. And you just take all this fucking medicine to knock out, you know, whatever virus you got going on. And finally you feel better. But then what do? We go back to eating the garbage food. We go back to not working out. We go back to living a shitty lifestyle. And we wonder why our immune system drops and we get sick. You know, I'm thankful. I have not been sick aside from my Crohn's, I don't really count that because it's kind of out of my control. Like, I mean, my doctor says fucking stress can flare it up. It's like, that's not, we all get stressed out. But in terms of like sick, like a cold, it's been years. And I think a lot of that is attributed to, and I have an immune deficiency, so I'm fighting every single day to make sure that I don't get it. But it's a lot to do with the vitamins I take and how I eat. I eat clean. If I eat really shitty, I fast the next day to kind of flush that bullshit out of my system because it lingers. It'll linger in your gut and your intestines if you eat that fried food and that high sugar and all that bullshit. So I like to juice and I like to cleanse it out and drink a shit ton of water. I don't drink any soda. I don't remember the last time I had soda. Like even in a mixed drink, I usually don't do soda. Sometimes I'll do a ginger beer or something like that. But it's kind of terrifying how little we care about like long term. Like I know Oreos are good. I get it. I mean, half of my family's Italian. Like, I understand food, and I know how good it tastes. If you could find ways to make that type of food that you love taste just as good, or maybe, you know, a little less good, but still pretty good, and it's a lot healthier for you, why wouldn't you put in that effort? Because we just don't know what we're putting in our body sometimes. And that should terrify you. And if it doesn't terrify you, you need to do some research, man, because no one's going to tell you about this stuff. Like what Joe Rogan's talking about here, the couple clips I showed you, what he's talking about is CNN's not even doing the research of what is helping Joe Rogan get better. Like he got over the COVID virus, the massive global pandemic. He got over it after a couple days. I'll let you listen to the rest of it.
The truth in a lot of things. But with regard to this, people go, it's insane to take ivermectin. Like you see it everywhere. Everyone's like, this is wild. Don't take this shit.
Now, ivermectin is just something that Joe Rogan talked about before, and a lot of people talked about him. And I think even that's the shit that they gave Trump when he had it. This is like stuff that's been proven to help COVID, to help fight against COVID, rather. Once you get it, it's not like you could take it every day, but it's been proven. Like studies have been proven.
And you have the head of the fucking Tokyo, whatever, medical commission saying, take ivermectin.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know what's going on, man. You know, there's a lot of speculation. One of the speculations involves the emergency use authorization for the vaccines. That in order for there to be an emergency use authorization, there has to be no treatment for a disease.
Right.
So because there is this treatment in ivermectin, and there's other treatments too.
Right.
Because of this, there's a lot of pushback against potential treatments and pretending that they don't really work or that they're conspiracy theories. This is the grand conspiracy, right? The grand conspiracy is that the pharmaceutical companies are all in cahoots to try to make anybody who takes this stuff look crazy. But what's crazy is look how better I got.
Yeah.
I got better pretty quick, bitch.
Let's go to like your whole.
Well, what's even more crazy is, I mean, again, that's like tinfoil hat stuff, right? I don't know if I believe it, but I wouldn't put it past companies. You know, you look at like the stock market, right? You look at Johnson & Johnson. I mean, go to Johnson & Johnson's website and look at the profitability and how much they make. And then look at like this is all public knowledge. Look at the amount of money they make per year, and then look at where they're getting the most money from. They don't get it from lotions and baby oil and stuff like that. They get it from pharmaceuticals and medical devices. So that's a little crazy, especially because a lot of their lotions and sunscreens have been known to cause cancer. And then they sell medical devices that can combat those types of cancers. So I don't know, man. It's just a little fishy. So I'm not saying there's conspiracy out there. I'm just saying if you can avoid these middlemen and you can avoid getting your information from even Joe Rogan. Like, you don't have to get it from Joe Rogan. I'm just pulling this up because I think it's super interesting because we all know him as being fit, being healthy, and he has a huge influence. If he got this and he's using something that actually works, why is our pharmaceutical companies not looking into it? Why are they not saying, this is interesting, we should look into this? It helped Joe Rogan, and if it does work, well, it's going to help everybody involved. So why are we not focusing on it more? I don't know.
Experience.
Yeah.
So you get back from a trip, right? And
I guess so. Fort Lauderdale was the first show, beginning stages. But I thought
I wish you were in the hospital.
because I wasn't scared during the entire pandemic. Isolate.
And then, of course, you know, he goes on to talk about on this episode where that, I mean, a lot of companies maybe are not, you know, giving him kind of like an outlet and saying that what he took was working and all that. Maybe they're saying just because they wanted him to get sick.
I wish you were in the hospital.
Because I wasn't scared during the entire pandemic, what they would like is that when I did get sick, that I was really sick
and you
then
learned your
became
lesson.
really scared and learned my lesson.
Yeah, that's true.
And instead, it's the worst case scenario for them.
Right.
I bounce back about as
a
quick
day.
as you fucking can.
Yeah.
They're haters.
Yeah.
But that's their life. You
That's
got to live
true.
like that. Imagine spending any time whatsoever wishing that a person felt bad.
Yeah. That's
It's
true.
the dumbest fucking thing
It's
you could ever
insane.
spend your energy on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. You can't.
No.
It doesn't make people feel worse.
You're like, God, I wish so hard. He's okay. So crazy.
I'd heard that was going on, but I didn't pay attention to it. It's like, they're weak bitches.
Yeah.
You stay salty.
Yeah.
You know, again, I think a lot of this has to, and the only reason I want to let you listen to this clip is I recommend you listen to that podcast. It's pretty funny, especially that's the first 15 minutes they talk about that stuff. But it is kind of crazy how as much as we want to YOLO and do crazy shit and go spend money here, spend money there, but we don't spend money on our health. And me personally, I take a handful of pills almost every single day. And in fact, I do take them every single day, and then some days I'll take more. So I get a lot of my stuff through, there's this AM, PM multivitamin that I take. So I'll take a bunch in the AM right after breakfast, if I have breakfast or lunch. And then I'll take PM right before I go to bed, which has melatonin and things like that to help me sleep. But it's also good for digestion at night because obviously our body is resting. So you want to have some good supplements in there. And then, I take vitamin D spray to help combat COVID and any other viruses. I do a lot of outdoor activity as well. So that's a big way to get your vitamin D. So if you're in a spot like a Seattle or Portland or Alaska or something like that where you can't get a lot of sun year long, you need to do some type of supplements. It's very important to our health. And you got to remember, our bodies have continued to evolve, and across the country, everyone's going to have different things that they should be taking or shouldn't be taking or don't need to take. But that's all the research that you have to do. And if you put as much time and energy into doing that research, you're going to live a long, healthier life. You know, there's a big difference between like people here in America and people overseas, like in Europe, especially like Italy, where there's what they call blue zones, which blue zones is, you know, places that they don't typically eat a lot of meat, but any other type of meat or plants or anything, it's all things that they grow themselves, and it's fresh. It's not processed. You know, that's why people over in Italy are eating all this bread and pasta. It's because they're making it fresh. There's no processed foods involved. A lot of those guys and gals out there live to 100, live to 105, you know, and it's just unbelievable how we don't want to mock and duplicate that type of lifestyle. Again, you're probably thinking, oh, 100's a long time, bro. I don't want to live to 100. Yeah, but you're not understanding. You're thinking 100 like our grandmother and grandfather. See, when they lived to like 80 or 90, they were going senile. They were in wheelchairs. No, there's people now that are hitting like what they call super centenarians, I believe is how you pronounce it, where it's like over 110, and they're walking around and they're loving life. It's because of what they eat, what they put in their body. So we don't have to get to a point to where we're 80 or 90 years old and we're crippled. A lot of that is our diet. Some of it's hereditary, sure, but again, a lot of that is hereditary because of what our grandfathers and grandmothers ate and what they did in their lifestyle. You know, if you don't have a healthy family, you're going to have a problem. Like, you're going to have to work even harder to make sure that you're healthy and that your genes are healthy and that your kids' kids are healthy. Like, we have a responsibility not just for yourself, but for the human race. You know, we have to continue to be more and more healthy every single year, you know, especially as the earth change, and it doesn't look like climate change is changing for the better. It looks like we're not really taking the hint, so who knows? You know, at the end of the day, there's only so much we can't control, and what you can put in your body, you can control. So we need to do it. We need to quit messing around and be healthy. And there's a lot of ways to do it, and it's super easy to do it. You know, you can look up a lot of great stuff and read a lot of articles and listen to some healthy podcasts and, you know, read some books, and there's a lot of cool stuff out there. So, you know, I just hope that some of you out there will just take this serious. You know, COVID is a big deal for sure. I got the vaccine, I'm with it, but I also take care of my body. And I'm not really worried about it because even if it is a virus, I know my body can fight off against it because I do everything I can to keep my body in tip-top shape. And that's what each of us need to do, especially as these viruses continue to attack us. We need to make sure we're being more and more prepared. You know, and also, hey, listen, I like to be healthy because God forbid if anything happens, if there's an apocalypse or if, you know, I need to outrun like a fucking tiger, I could do it. I want to be healthy anywhere I can, wherever I can. I just want to be healthy and live long. Hopefully you guys do as well. Live long, prosper. Thanks for listening to the show. I enjoyed talking to you guys about this. Again, if you like this episode or any episode, be sure to share with friends, family. Give me a little subscribe. I love you guys.
Peace.